Hello everyone and welcome to the 5th Finding the Best Side Quest video, and after being requested in the comments of another video, today we are going to be talking about Wild at Heart. So, this is the quest with arguably one of the stupidest character in the entire world of The Witcher. Maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but honestly, Margaret, who's Hannah's sister and murderer, is pretty much making this quest entertaining on her own with how little sense she makes. I actually love this quest and I think it does a lot of things very well, but I always thought that the writing of Nilin, who is the other main character here, didn't make a whole lot of sense, to the point where making any decision in this quest feels pretty bad and frustrating to me. At least with Nilin, he's way smarter and Geralt can actually rely on him throughout the quest. Well, turns out he's a werewolf, so never mind. Not exactly your quest with ordinary people. But before we continue, here's a quick explanation of the format for finding the best side quest. If you want to skip this section, there will be timestamps in the description. In each video, I select a side quest and I analyze it. My plan is to cover most of the side quests that are considered great in the community or that I personally enjoy. By the end of every video, I need to make a decision. Could it be the best side quest in the entire game? If the answer is no, it's eliminated. If the answer is yes, then it joins the other winners, and in the future I'll make one final video where I'll crown the official winner with the viewers' help. Alright, back to the video. It all starts with Nilin asking Geralt to look for his lost wife, Anna. Anna disappeared after going to the forest, and she's mostly presumed dead at this point by most people, but Nilin still believes there is hope. Margaret, who's Hannah's sister, then jumps in, pretty much interrupting the two to join the conversation, and it really seems like she has a lot of anger towards Hannah. Then, after asking around the small town for more information about the missing person, it's made clear that the surrounding forest is actually dangerous and that packs of wolves roam the area. Shortly after, we actually run into some of them near a site that we go to investigate. But yeah, before leaving for investigation, the son of the blacksmith gives valuable information to Geralt. He saw Anna and someone else going to the forest early in the morning recently, and she wasn't alone, but he couldn't really identify the second person, unfortunately. The Witcher then starts his investigation of the forest, despite the situation being pretty ambiguous. Quickly, it becomes obvious that there is more to the story, and a werewolf is actually involved. Well, maybe the werewolf I talked about earlier, I don't know. While investigating though, Margaret shows up, and remember what people say about that forest.
If I'm to judge, it's the wolves got her. Been howling the nights through lately. Even the Baron's men are feared to come by.
And now here she is, in said deadly forest, risking her life, supposedly to try to convince Geralt to leave and tell Nilin that his loved one is actually dead.
You needn't look for Hannah. She'd have returned long past were she alive. I'll pay you twice Nilin's pledge. Just tell the man his Hannah's dead.
I mean, come on. You don't even want to know the fate of your own sister? I'm not even going to spend time explaining why I declined her offer, I think it's just logical. But now it's time to keep investigating, because she's clearly made it obvious at this point that there is more to this story. Actually, it would make sense at that point that she could be the werewolf and that she's trying to avoid having the Witcher find evidence about her curse. As Geralt keeps exploring though, he discovers a note hidden in a little haunting cabin where our investigation led us that says that Nilin is actually the cursed one. We then dive into a cave under the cabin, we meditate for nighttime, and then we fight the werewolf and his wolf friends. If you do this quest pretty early in the game and on Death March, it can prove pretty difficult, especially with the regeneration of the werewolf. It can be frustrating if you can't outdamage the regeneration, but it wasn't a problem for me, and I actually enjoyed the challenge. At the end of the fight though, before landing the final blow, Margaret, who, of course, has not said her last word yet, shows up and tries to get Geralt to stop hurting Nilin. She then reveals everything. She was in love with Nilin, and by her words she was actually really close to having him for her. She knew about his curse, and she still loved him. She thought it wouldn't be the same with Anna. She thought that Anna would reject Nilin should she learn about his secret. Therefore, she brought Anna in front of the werewolf and wanted to reveal the truth to her. By her words, all she wanted to do was scare her. Personally, I don't really believe her. I think she went there with the intention of killing Anna. It's debatable, and unfortunately there isn't much evidence here that could really lead to a definitive and final answer. When she brought Anna in front of Nilin, things went about as you'd expect, and yes, the werewolf killed her. He killed her because he is this crazy and furious beast, right? So he can't control his emotions. And that's my biggest problem with the quest. We hear about this ferocious werewolf that kills anything on sight, but then the werewolf that we have in front of us is actually completely different. He's smart and talkative. Well, to confuse us even more, That's not true at the beginning. He rushes in and attacks Geralt without speaking a single word. But right after, he is this tame beast who's completely capable of handling his emotions while talking with Geralt. And sure, you could say that he is wounded and that's the reason, but clearly he's still capable of fighting as shown if you let him kill Margaret right after. So, I really feel like there are two versions of the werewolf, and maybe it's a way to make the choice a little bit harder, because we can see a bit of Neilin inside of the beast and some humanity, but unfortunately I just feel like it leads to inconsistency and confusion more than anything. Like, when he says that he woke up with blood in his mouth come morning.
You brought her here. That night. 'Twas the reason I had the taste of blood in me mouth come morn.
It implies that he had completely lost any awareness and that he got his senses back only after going back to human form, right? So why can't he remember those things right now? Or why does he say this as well?
And I'll kill you willingly. First time for that, in fact.
This might be the best example to prove my point. This makes it sound like he is fully in control of his actions at that moment, which doesn't really make sense because a few minutes earlier, he jumped on Geralt and clearly he wasn't in control. So it feels to me like he's just a human disguised as a werewolf right there, and maybe there are different, like I'm not a werewolf specialist if that's even a thing, so maybe there are different stages of rage and maybe werewolves can become more aware at times, but I found that very hard to follow. In the story, Geralt then has to make a pretty big decision and he has to choose between two options. The first one is to let Neilin get his revenge and kill Margaret. It also results in the werewolf being spared for the time being.
Mercy! You had no mercy for your sister. I'll have none for you.
The second option is to let Margaret go and simply kill Neilin right away.
No! Don't hurt him!
Get out of here before I change my mind. Run.
I'm gonna be honest, the perfect choice for me simply isn't here. The best outcome in my book is that they should both die. Thankfully, if we decide to let him kill Margaret, he comes out of the cave shortly after looking for Geralt and he asks him to kill him, ultimately giving me the ending that I wanted.
Told you I'd kill you.
I knows well what you said. Do it.
If you want death, find some reins and a tree with a strong limb.
Wouldn't work. Couldn't do it. Always been a coward. Do it, please.
Still, it feels pretty bad to make a choice beforehand that basically implies that Geralt was willing to let a werewolf live. After dealing with werewolves in other quests, for example with Vincent in Witcher 1 or with the one from Skellige's Most Wanted in Witcher 3, and yes, I'm conveniently going to ignore that one. But yeah, in general, I guess I'm just done with werewolves, and I don't think I'll ever spare one again. Okay, enough about Neilin. Should Margaret die? Like I said, I personally think so. She caused the death of Anna, because again, I think that it wasn't an accident, and going by that assumption, killing your sister to try to get her boyfriend all for you is not exactly something that I think deserves mercy. There were so many better ways to show or simply to tell Anna about Neilin's curse that wouldn't necessarily put her into danger. Now that's if her goal wasn't to kill her sister, of course. So all of that leads me to the conclusion that it's almost poetic that Neilin gets to give her the same fate as Anna. I would never let Geralt himself kill her, but in this specific situation, him letting Neilin get his revenge seems pretty okay to me. And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. While the quest might be short, I think it still truly packs a punch. The locations are pretty interesting. Actually, if you look at the view from just outside the hunting cabin, it's breathtaking. Also, every location that we explore is either filled with quest clues or loot, and it just makes it very engaging. The story of what truly happened to Anna is slowly uncovered, and I think it leads to something that clearly becomes bigger than anticipated, and it doesn't disappoint. On the other end, with some negatives I guess, as I have well discussed already, the writing of Neilin's werewolf form in particular had me a bit confused, and I would also add that I found it a bit disappointing that if we choose to let Margaret live, while we can find her inside the hunting cabin after killing Neilin, we unfortunately cannot talk with her. It's not the big deal, I think it could have brought some nice closure to the quest with that ending, and I wish it was there. Wild at Heart is almost everything that I want from a side quest, but clearly, to me, it cannot be the best side quest in The Witcher 3, because similarly I would say to the other disqualified quest, which is Ghost of the Past, it's a bit short and it just isn't on the level of some of the other quests that we have looked at so far or that we'll eventually look at. Thank you so much for making it to the end. I really hope that you enjoyed. I always like making Finding the Best Side Quests videos. I think it's an interesting concept, and I just really hope that you guys enjoy these videos as well. I don't even know how many videos we have left in this series, but make sure to leave a comment if there's a side quest that you want me to look at before we get to the finale, and also feel free to share your personal thoughts in the comments on Wild at Heart. I want to know what you thought of that side quest as well. Quick reminder that the current finalists in Finding the Best Side Quest are Skellige's Most Wanted, A Tower Full of Mice, and Cardinal Sins. And that's pretty much it. I'll see you all soon in a new video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this one. Bye bye.